Okay, so about a year ago, a little over a year ago, I went home up in northern North Dakota for a Super Bowl party. And as the evening wore on, I noticed that I had a weird little small swollen bump on the inside of my lower jaw. And I didn't think it was a big deal, but I happened to mention it to my mom when I got home, and I had just gone home for the weekend, so this was a Sunday night, obviously Super Bowl Sunday, and she said, well, before you head back for classes tomorrow morning, because I had an 11 a.m. French class, she said, why don't we just call the local dentist and just see if he can, just look at it really quickly and check it out and tell us it's okay. So, well, miraculously, there was an opening that morning. So I'm going to set this up. It's like 7 a.m. on a Monday morning, and I go into the dentist, and I'm thinking about my French exam and yada, yada. And the dental hygienist takes an x-ray, and she comes into the room and puts it up on the little board, and she kind of does that thing where it's like, well, this guy's looking kind of funny here. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, red flag. If this was a normal situation, there would be no need for her to use that tone of voice with me. So I'm just gonna be chill. And she says, well, there's kind of like a shadow area here, so I'm gonna go get the dentist. And now I'm just thinking a lot of thoughts. So the dentist comes in and he says, well, it looks like you have an infection in there, and it could, because of its location, it could either drain to your heart or your brain. So we need to get you on antibiotics, and we need to operate as soon as those antibiotics get working in your system. And they leave the room. So it's 7 a.m. on a Monday morning, and I'm thinking, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. It's been draining, the swelling has gone down, draining, I'm imagining to my brain or my heart. So I go to the pharmacy, pick up the antibiotics, and there's really nothing for me to do but go to my 11 a.m. French class. So I'm driving down the interstate, and it occurs to me, I'm driving to Fargo to die. And I swear, I do not have some hang up with death. I don't. But I'm a creative writing major, sex and death is what we study. So I've probably thought about it a little more than the average 20-year-old, and I never pictured myself, I never pictured Fargo being my final resting place. So I'm a little bit upset, and I am starting to get a little scared, and I get to Fargo, sit through my classes, and by the end of, the school day, I'm just kind of emotional. So I call my best friend, Hannah, and I explain the situation to her, and she's just like, Linny Bean, just come over, and I'll make you a tuna sandwich. And so I'm feeling a little bit better, but I get over to her apartment, and, okay, you know how, supposedly in prison before someone's executed, they get to have their last meal, they get to, pick whatever they want, and I realize, a tuna sandwich would be what I would pick, so I'm getting actively depressed, and I just say to her, okay, we need to figure out, where my stuff is going. So I'm well, my car goes back to my parents, obviously, because it's not really mine. And I'm well, you got my scarf collection, obviously, which is extensive. So this is kind of a good deal for the best friend, but she's still taking good care of me. And it just kind of continues and it builds, and I realize I just need to go home. And so I go home, and I think it was coincidence that my roommate was not home that night, but I do know I was very much alone. And I had it in my mind that this was going to be kind of like a concussion, if you make it through the night, you're probably going to be okay, but so I have nothing better to do, so I got on Facebook, obviously, and I'm kind of trying to decide, do I do, a melodramatic, poem last status, or, do I, thank everyone who's like been a part of my life. And I'm honestly thinking about this. And I happen to check my email while I'm on there, and there's a reminder email from one of my professors. And it's about a paper that we have due the next day, which I have completely forgotten about in my kind of processing what's happening to my body and everything. And so I think, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at the syllabus and see like what percentage of my grade. I don't know why I care about this. I'm dying anyway. But I look at it and it literally says in the syllabus, this is not the kind of paper you want to start the night before it's due. So friends, I spend what could very well have been the last hours of my life writing like a summary analysis of an article on the implications of alliteration in Titus Andronicus or something. And okay, I will fully concede it could have been so much worse. But again, like not how I imagined spending, the last hours of my life. And I guess I'm not giving anything away if I say I did survive that night. But something weird happened in the morning. Yes, I was on some pretty strong medication, but how do I say this without sounding like stoned? It was like the weight went out of everything around me. Like suddenly, like nothing really mattered. And like I was peaceful and I was like I think I like walked kind of slower and I didn't really react to things and stuff. I don't know how I made it home safely, honestly, because I had to drive myself. But here's where it gets embarrassing, because nothing else I've said has been. I was just fine. Like, I went home, had the surgery. Like, they didn't even knock me out. They didn't even give me, like, here's some painkillers to make you feel better. It was, like, 15 minutes, you're out of there. Had to go back for French again, got an A on whatever it was I had that day. Like, I was just fine. Nothing happened. I feel like that's one of the most embarrassing things that can happen to you. Like, telling everyone, like, this is it. Like, this is it. And then you're fine. Like, no one's gonna ever want to hang out with you again. Like, but I got to keep my scarf collection, so worth it.